Okay, immune responses originally is to help us to fight infection, but not all immune responses are good. For example, immune responses can cause allergic reaction. If you have a wrong blood transfusion, then it will also kill you. And if you have a tissue transplant, organ transplant, it can also cause the tissue rejection. Allergies. Allergies, the definition is very good. Allergies are hypersensitivities to substances. It can be pollen, food, or animal hair. For animal hair, I have to emphasize one point. It's not the animal hair per se. It is the protein on the animal hair. What do I mean by that? Remember our hair, they are made out of keratin, which is a protein. But what I meant is the protein is the, the cats and dogs, they lick their fur all the time. It is the protein in the saliva. When they dry out, when the saliva dry up on the fur, then the protein from the saliva, they become flaky, and they can actually fly in the air. And those proteins, they are the allergen, the substances, allergen. They are the allergen that provoke the allergic response. So these are not normally harm the body, but it's just that they make your immune system hypersensitive. So we have immediate immune response. It occurs within seconds. You may have this. You may have this experience. It is caused by the IgE antibodies. I told you you don't need to memorize the function, but this one you have to know because it talks about the allergic response. This antibody IgE will bind to the receptor of the mast cell, to tell mast cell to secrete histamine. The IgE will also bind to eosinophil and basophil. What are these? Eosinophil and basophil I have not talked about. They are 2 of the 5 types of white blood cell. We have 5 types of white blood cell. We talk about neutrophil and monocyte. I told you that monocyte, neutrophil can do phagocytosis. Monocyte matures to become macrophages. Okay, you remember this? And then we talk about lymphocyte, namely B cell, T cell. And then what are the other 2 types? The other are eosinophil and basophil. They are the other 2 types of the white blood cell. So allergen attaches to antibody E. Remember, antibody is a Y-shaped molecule. And then IgE will also attach to the plasma membrane of the mast cell. In this case, you will tell mast cell to secrete histamine. And I told you that histamine is the one that causes inflammation, namely vasodilation, and also the increase in the permeability of the blood vessels. So that is the allergic reaction, allergy symptoms. Hay fever, asthma, and food allergies. All these because of the excessive high level of the histamine. Anaphylactic shock is also an immediate response, but it is a severe immediate response. What happens is that if you get a bee stings, or if you are allergic to penicillin shot, or some kind of severe allergic reaction, so that the blood vessels of your entire body, they dilate. Think about this: if your blood vessels of your entire body dilate, what will happen? Then the blood pressure will drop suddenly. And your blood vessel drops suddenly, then it will potentially cause the person to faint or even death. So one way to treat anaphylactic shock, that means a sudden drop of the blood pressure, is to give the patient epinephrine. Epinephrine will induce sympathetic responses. Sympathetic responses will increase your blood pressure because they will. One of the sympathetic responses is the vasoconstriction. That means it's the opposite of the vasodilation. So there is immediate allergic response. Of course, there will be delayed allergic response. Delayed allergic response is caused by the memory T cell at the site of allergen contact. We take advantage of the delayed allergic response by the TB skin test. TB skin test is an example of the delayed response. Okay, for the blood type reaction, I'm going to skip that because we talked about this early in the semester when we talk about the codominant gene expression. Remember, blood type is an example of codominant genotype expression. So I won't talk about this. You can go through it yourself. But even though we don't talk about this here, I'll still test you because you have already learned this and you have been tested about the blood type transfusion before. So just a brief review. If you get the wrong blood type transfusion, you will have agglutination or clumping of the blood cells in your body that can potentially block your blood vessels, causing stroke or cardiac arrest or all kinds of issues. That's why getting a wrong blood transfusion can potentially be lethal. Okay, this part we have not talked about. I usually talk about this for my physiology student. So RH factor. In addition to blood type A, B, and O, we have RH factor. So you can be positive, you can be A positive, or you can be A negative. The positive or negative, we call it RH factor. RH stands for rhesus. The reason is that a scientist first discovered the rhesus RH factor from the monkey living along the rhesus river. So they just call it RH factor. And then if you are RH positive, that means you have the RH antigen on the blood cell. If you are RH negative, you don't have the RH antigen on the blood cell, red blood cell. Most of the US population, 85%, are RH positive. RH negative, they are only 15%. So what will be the issue of that? Pregnancy. If RH negative mother is pregnant with an RH positive baby, that will be the issue. So what happened is that the placenta is not perfect, meaning that theoretically one of the functions of the placenta is to separate the mother's blood from the baby's blood, so that if they have the wrong blood type, then they won't mix with each other and causes agglutination, theoretically. Practically, placenta is not 100% perfect. It's not 100% efficient in terms of separating blood. Some of the baby's blood can go into the mother. And then in this case, if the baby's blood is Rh positive, what will happen? The mother's immune system will recognize the Rh positive blood from the baby, and then the mother will start to secrete antibody. It will go through the adaptive immune response to secrete the antibody to so that the antibody will agglutinate or clump the baby's blood in the mother's body. This is during the first pregnancy. And then during the second pregnancy, because remember the curve, okay, the first infection you have very low antibody level, and the second infection you have very high antibody level. So this is what it is about. During the first pregnancy, the antibody level is very low, so it won't affect the first baby. But after the first pregnancy, when the mother gets pregnant again with the Rh positive baby, and then when the Rh positive blood go to the mother's body, it will trigger a massive amount of the immune response. That means the mother will generate a lot of antibody. A lot of antibody will go through the placenta, and it will go to attack the baby. That is not good. We call it hemolytic disease. The official name should be called erythroblastosis fetalis. It should be called. This is the official name. So the antibody for the Rh positive blood will go from the mother into the fetus or the baby, and then start to so-called agglutinate or clump all the baby blood together. And that is not good because it will cause at least mental retardation. Because in the serious case, it can actually cause the death of the fetus, because the fetus do not get enough of the blood. All the blood are being agglutinated. And then how does it do? We can use a passive immunity. We talk about passive immunity. We can inject the Rh negative mother with the anti-Rh positive. This is anti-Rh immunoglobulin. That means this is the antibody against Rh positive blood. Antibody and against the Rh positive antibody. This will, you have to inject the Rh negative mother before having the primary immune response, so that it will prevent the mother to have the primary immune response. When the mother does not have the primary immune response, then the next time when the mother gets pregnant, she still needs to receive this antibody injection. So every time she gets pregnant, she wants to get pregnant, she has to receive this injection to prevent the occurrence of the primary immune response. If there's no primary immune response, that means there's no memory cell made, then there will not be a secondary immune response that produces a high level of antibody. So it can be treated in this way. So this is the graphical representation. So the Rh positive blood of the baby goes into the mother's blood, and then it causes the antibody attacking the blood, and then the antibody can go to attack the mother's blood as well. So the baby's blood, they are positive, they can go into the mother's body. And then the mother's body will secrete antibody. The antibody against the Rh positive blood can go through the placenta to agglutinate. Agglutinate meaning that clumping all the blood. Then you see that the antibody is holding two red blood cells together. That's how they cause the agglutination or clump all the cell. So all these, they will connect all these red blood cells together, and then all the red blood cells, they will clump together. We call it agglutination.